You ever have one of those moments where you stand there looking at the wreckage of something you cared about and just think, this can't be real, right? Yeah, well, that was me the morning I found my tent. The brand new one I'd just bought ripped to shreds on my own property by a pack of drunken idiots, egged on by our very own HOA president, Margaret Thornfield. And let me tell you, the part that really floored me wasn't the ruined gear or even the ridiculousness of what happened. It was that she called the cops on me, standing there with the remains of my tent at my feet, like I was the criminal and not the victim. That's when I realized the insanity had reached a whole new level. And I knew right then Margaret had picked the wrong neighbor for her little vendetta. Now, a little about me. I'm Ryan. I've lived in Clearwater, this lakeside HOA community, for 2 years now. Before all this, things were peaceful. I kept to myself, paid my dues, waved at the neighbors. Everything changed the day I stood up to Margaret. She's 64, retired from some insurance gig, and she runs the HOA like her own little kingdom. A while back, she tried to drag me to court over wildflowers. Can you believe it? Not some wild party or property damage, wildflowers. Hired a lawyer, Becca Foster wiped the floor with Margaret's claims, and after the dust settled, she had to eat my legal fees too. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Nope. She started plotting, and I started preparing. So Friday night rolls around, I set up my $400 tent in the backyard, wanted to test it out before taking it camping with some college buddies. Perfectly legal, well within my property line, about 150 yards from Margaret's house, but still in her precious line of sight. Saturday comes, Margaret throws herself a big birthday bash, the works family friends booze. From my patio, I can hear her griping about my ugly tent ruining her lake view. Her son Brandon, he's 21 and back home after flunking out of college, desperate for his mom's approval. As soon as Margaret starts complaining, Brandon jumps at the chance to be the hero. She even raises her wine glass and toasts, "Boys will be boys." Clean up our beautiful neighborhood, you know what I mean? You can probably see where this is going. Come 11 p.m., Brandon and 3 of his buddies, already half sloshed, stumble over, except instead of handling it like adults, they film themselves live streaming as they rip my tent to pieces. Poles tossed toward the lake, fabric shredded, the whole thing, broadcasted for the world to see, with Margaret cheering in the background. That's my boys. Show him what community standards mean. It was like watching a bad reality show, except I was the target. Sunday morning, I walk out, see the mess, flush $400 down the drain. Instead of flipping out, I pull out my phone, snap photos, document every detail, because after the landscaping case, I learned you don't fight Margaret with emotion. You fight her with evidence. What she didn't know was I already had cameras rolling on every corner of my property. But she wasn't done. That afternoon, she's all over the HOA page online, bragging about decisive action to keep Clearwater beautiful, talking about illegal camping, and racking up supportive comments from folks who don't know the first thing about what really went down. Then comes the cherry on top. She calls the police on me. Swears up and down I broke the rules, that my tent was an unauthorized structure, that I'm ruining property values. Cop shows up, asks the key question. Was it on his property? Margaret starts dancing around the answer, but the officer just tells her it's a civil matter. Nothing criminal here. I keep my mouth shut. Tell him my lawyer will be in touch. Margaret posts again about entitled people who think rules don't apply to them. And the comment section turns into a battlefield. Half the community backs her. The other half is starting to ask, wait, who actually destroyed Ryan's property? Even Mrs. Williams, who's always been neutral, pipes up that maybe we should hear both sides. Margaret claps back, accusing Mrs. Williams of disloyalty, and it hits me. Our peaceful neighborhood's been split in two over a tent. People I used to chat with on evening walks now avoid eye contact. So I call Becca again. She's ready to go to bat for me, but I don't tell her I already know exactly who did what. I wanted to see how deep this rabbit hole went. Monday morning, Margaret sends me this big official-looking email from the HOA board, except she wrote it herself. 4 paragraphs of fake legalese demanding $750 in fines, a public apology, and a promise to respect community standards. I laugh out loud reading it. She even calls an emergency board meeting to label me a chronic troublemaker. 3 out of 5 board members vote to issue a warning and open an investigation, and she threatens them with loyalty to the community if they don't toe the line. By Tuesday night, I'll be honest, I'm starting to feel isolated. Neighbors I thought were friendly now avoid me. Even Mrs. Cooper, who never missed a chance to say hi, just jogs past me like I'm radioactive. For a moment, I consider caving, pay the fine, write the apology, move somewhere quieter. But Becca calls and snaps me out of it. Turns out she's got personal reasons for going after corrupt HOAs. When she was 27, she lost her first home to a board just like this one, fake violations, intimidation, the works. That's why she became an HOA lawyer, to make sure nobody else got railroaded. By Wednesday, Becca sent a formal letter to Margaret and the board dropped the charges, replace my tent, pay my legal fees, or we go public with evidence of coordinated property destruction. Margaret freaks, starts grilling Brandon about what evidence might still be out there. The dumb part, Brandon's video plus 2 others from his friends had already been reposted with Margaret in the background wine glass, raised toasting the heroes. Becca finds every last post. Then something wild happens. Mrs. Williams stops me on my morning jog, says she's tired of Margaret's bullying, mentions the Hendersons got fined for mailbox color that was actually allowed, and says she'll be at the board meeting with the real bylaws in hand. That's when I realize the tide's starting to turn. A special HOA meeting is called. Way more residents RSVP than usual. Margaret's crowing about truth prevailing and even tells me to bring your lawyer, acting like she's got this in the bag. Beck and I meet up at a coffee shop, hashing out our strategy, and she's shocked at just how much evidence we have. Videos, posts, eyewitnesses, you name it. She's determined to expose not just the tent fiasco, but Margaret's years of targeting residents with fake violations. And I dropped the last surprise on her. I've got security camera footage better than anything on social. But I tell her we save it for the right moment. Becca thinks I'm being dramatic, but trust me, letting people reveal their true selves is way more effective than just blasting them with proof. Saturday, the big meeting goes down. The room is packed, standing room only, projector fired up, everyone buzzing with anticipation. Margaret opens with her usual speech about protecting the community, then tries to pin everything on spontaneous action by concerned residents. Becca smiles and drops the hammer. She connects her laptop and hits play. Brandon's live stream fills the screen, him and his buddies tearing up my tent. Margaret's voice egging them on. The room goes silent. Brandon sinks in his chair. People gasp, phones come out, and Margaret scrambles to do damage control. She claims the video's out of context, but then Becca plays another Margaret in full view, glass raised, giving orders, celebrating when the boys return. Board members are looking more and more uncomfortable, residents whispering about conspiracy and criminal charges. Margaret tries one last play, waving the HOA handbook, insisting on a technical violation, no temporary structures without notice. For a second, she's actually turning the room her way, until Becca pulls up the bylaws and reads the exemption: private property under 72 hours, camping gears allowed. And there's Margaret's own signature from 2019 approving that exact rule. Brandon breaks down in front of everyone, confesses it was all his mom's idea. Admits she's been obsessed with punishing me since she lost that lawsuit, and spills everything. Timing instructions, the whole plot. Margaret loses it, calls her son weak and disloyal, and people are just done with her. Becca rolls one more clip, Margaret earlier in the evening, giving detailed instructions. The board takes a recess, and by the end, Margaret suspended her actions, referred to the police. I get compensation and a public apology. Margaret storms out, vowing revenge, but the cops are already calling. Detective Lisa Johnson takes over, thorough, no-nonsense interviews everyone, including Brandon, who finally tells the full story to someone in uniform. His friends back him up. The DA files criminal charges: conspiracy, abuse of power, false police reports, intimidation. Margaret faces jail fines, her name in the paper. She posts bail still defiant, but even her new lawyer tells her the evidence is overwhelming and she'd better take a plea deal. Meanwhile, the new board investigates years of her leadership and uncovers a pattern: fake violations, harassment, shady expenses for her friends' companies, you name it. They vote her out, launch new transparency measures, and issue a public apology. The community starts healing barbecues, real conversations, and neighbors stepping up to apologize for doubting me. Even Brandon, humbled and working a job, promises to pay me back for the tent, and I forgive him because we've all been manipulated at some point. Margaret takes a deal, jail probation restitution, and a lifetime ban from HOA leadership. But she can't let go. She goes on TV, plays the victim, but the footage is just her getting angry and defensive. That more than anything seals her legacy. 6 months later, we hold the first Clearwater Camping Festival, where my tent used to be, now a real camping area for everyone, built with HOA funds and community effort. That night, I finally reveal my secret 4K camera footage of everything from planning to execution, played for the whole community. People ask why I waited, and I tell them letting Margaret show her true colors, letting Brandon grow, letting Mrs. Williams and others find their voices. That's what built a real community. Not just a victory for me, but for everyone who stood up. 1 year later, the festival's grown. Margaret's faded into legend, a cautionary tale still driving by sometimes, but never stopping. Brandon's thriving community events are up, property values have climbed, and Mrs. Williams is now board president. Clearwater is the model for other neighborhoods, proof that you can beat a bully by letting them destroy themselves while you document everything. If you're up against someone like Margaret, remember: document, unite, your neighbors know your rights, and don't let them isolate you. Stand up, but don't stoop to their level. Let the truth do the heavy lifting. And hey, if you've ever tangled with an HOA dictator, or you think justice means more than just winning, drop a comment, tell your story. Let's talk about what real community and accountability look like. Because sometimes the most satisfying ending is the one where everyone gets a second chance, except the ones who refuse to change.